She kicked a puppy out on Thanksgiving. I made her pay. The crunch of the gravel under my tires was the only sound, a gritty protest against the inevitable. I'd been driving for 4 hours, clutching a cold steering wheel and practicing the smile I'd have to wear for the next 6. Thanksgiving at Aunt Karen's. I pulled up to the house. It wasn't a home, it was a stage, a beige, 2-story monument to joyless perfection. Before I even had the engine off, the front door swung open.
Alex, darling, you're late.
Karen's voice was a high, tight wire. She stood in the doorway, framed by 2 perfect cornucopias.
Wipe your feet twice. Miguel just did the floors.
I did as I was told, stepping into an atmosphere so thick with pine-scented potpourri it made my eyes water.
And look.
She trilled, pointing to a small, shivering bundle of fur near the fireplace.
We got the kids a puppy for the holiday. Isn't he darling?
It was a tiny terrier mix, all oversized ears and trembling legs. I knelt. Hey, little guy. My fingers found his ribs, sharp and brittle under the thin fur. He yipped and tried to climb into my lap.
We're calling him Patches,
Karen said, already turning away.
Now, Alex, don't just stand there. The appetizers are in the living room, and use a coaster.
The afternoon was a masterclass in tension. Uncle Mike stared at the football game, feigning deafness. My cousins texted under the table, and Karen orbited the kitchen, a whirlwind of micromanagement. The air was heavy with the smell of her masterpiece, a 25-pound turkey, slow roasting for hours, sage, thyme, and the rich, mouth-watering aroma of browning fat. It was the only genuine thing in the house. Then it happened. The puppy, Patches, overwhelmed by the noise and the strangers, trotted nervously into the dining room. He sniffed the leg of the table, turned a tight circle, and created a small, dark puddle on the corner of Karen's pristine white rug. The laughter in the room choked and died. Karen's head whipped around. Her smile didn't fade. It shattered.
No.
Her voice was a low hiss.
No, no.
She strode into the room, her face pale. She didn't look at the stain. She looked at the dog, who was now cowering, tail tucked.
You.
She shrieked, a sound that made my fillings ache.
You stupid, filthy animal.
She didn't just pick him up. She grabbed him by the scruff of his neck, yanking him clean off the floor. The puppy let out a single terrified yelp. Karen, don't, I started to say, but she was already moving. She marched to the back sliding glass door, ripped it open, and a whoosh of frigid air blasted my cheek. It was cold out, the kind of raw, damp November cold that gets in your bones. 35 degrees tops. She threw the dog. He hit the wooden deck with a small, pathetic thud and scrambled, whimpering, back toward the glass. Click. She locked the door. The whimpering was frantic, a desperate scratching at the pain. We all stared. I stood up, my own hands shaking. Karen, it's freezing out there. He's just a puppy. You can't just leave him. She turned to me, her face a mask of cold fury. Her voice was quiet, but it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever heard.
He ruined my rug.
She took a breath, smoothing her apron.
He stays out. Do not, Alex, ruin my Thanksgiving. The turkey is almost ready.
She turned and walked back to the kitchen. And the worst part? Everyone else looked away, at their plates, at the ceiling, anywhere but the small, shivering creature on the other side of the glass. My blood felt hot, then very, very cold. I sat back down. I watched. I watched the puppy stop scratching and curl into a tight, miserable ball against the brick, vibrating with cold. And I watched Aunt Karen, 10 minutes later, pull her prize from the oven. It was magnificent. The skin was a deep, burnished mahogany. The smell of it filled the room, an overwhelming promise of the perfect feast. She placed the heavy carving platter on the kitchen counter, right by the sliding glass door. To rest, she said, an invitation. I waited. I needed her out of the room. I stood up and walked into the living room. "Oh my God, Karen!" I shouted, letting my voice crack with panic. "That huge new vase! Is it wobbling?" It was all she needed.
My God, your Uncle Mike, he probably.
Her heels clacked on the hardwood as she sprinted into the living room, barking orders. Now. I didn't go to the kitchen. I slipped out the front door into the biting cold. I moved fast, jogging on the dead grass, around the side of the house. The puppy saw me. He was too cold to even stand, just a pathetic whimper. Shh, shh, buddy, I whispered. I scooped up the quivering dog. He was lighter than air. I unzipped my winter coat, shoved him inside against my chest, and felt his tiny heart hammering against my ribs. I walked calmly down the driveway to my car, parked on the street. I laid him on the passenger seat, wrapped him in the emergency blanket I keep in the trunk, and turned the car on for just a minute to blast the heat. I cracked both windows. "I'll be right back for you," I promised. I slipped back inside. No one had missed me. The house was too loud. I sauntered into the kitchen. Karen was still in the living room, scolding Uncle Mike about the vase. I looked at the turkey, steaming on the counter. I looked at the empty, cold deck. Click. I unlocked the sliding glass door. I pulled it open. Just a crack. A 6-inch gap. The glorious, complex, irresistible scent of a 25-pound roasted turkey rolled out into the cold night air. I walked out of the kitchen, went straight to the downstairs bathroom, and locked the door. I washed my hands. I counted to 60, twice. When I came out, Karen was clapping her hands, a queen addressing her court.
Everyone, to the table. Find your name cards. It's time for the main event.
We were all filing into the dining room when the scream came. It wasn't a yell. It was a raw, blood-curdling shriek from Uncle Mike, who had gone to the kitchen for ice. "Karen! Oh my God, Karen, get in here now!" The family stampeded. The kitchen was freezing. The sliding glass door was swinging wide open in the breeze. On the floor, the heavy carving platter was licked clean. And on the deck, in the twilight, was a scene of pure chaos. 2 large, mangy stray dogs, a shepherd mix and some kind of wiry-haired beast, were in a brutal tug-of-war with the carcass of the turkey. A fat raccoon was making off with an entire drumstick, disappearing into the woods. Grease, skin, and bits of stuffing were smeared across the pristine deck. Karen made a sound I will never, ever forget. A high-pitched gasp that turned into a mournful whine.
My turkey.
Her hands flew to her head.
My perfect. It's ruined. Who left the door open?
Her eyes were wild, darting from face to face. I stepped forward, my own eyes wide with horror. I pointed a shaking finger at the snarling strays. "Oh my God," I gasped. "The stray dogs! Where's Patches?" That was the nail in the coffin. The feast was forgotten.
"Patches, here, boy."
Uncle Mike was on the deck, waving a broom. My cousins were screaming. Karen was just vibrating, holding the sides of her head, muttering.
My turkey, my perfect turkey.
Over and over. In the absolute bedlam, I grabbed my keys from the hook. "I'll check the front yard," I yelled. "Maybe he got scared and ran." I walked out the front door, got in my car, and didn't stop. I sent a text 5 minutes down the road. "So sorry. Couldn't find him anywhere. Had to leave, got an emergency call from work." I heard later they ate frozen pizzas. Karen told everyone the puppy must have run away. I guess he did. I looked at the passenger seat. A small black nose poked out of the emergency blanket. He was finally warm. "Hey, buddy," I said, pulling into the bright lights of a fast food joint. I think your name is Lucky." I parked, unwrapped the plain cheeseburger I'd ordered for him, and broke off a piece. I put it in my hand. He sniffed it, then licked. Then, with a happy little growl, Lucky, warm and safe, chowed down on his Thanksgiving dinner.